Rejection is a part of life. It happens to all of us. We must learn how to deal with this effectively, and your level of emotional resilience is what will make the difference between whether rejection feels like a nasty slap in the face, but that you keep moving forward, or whether or not you experience a rejection and it absolutely crushes you. And rejection can be multidimensional. We can be personally rejected, professionally rejected, so many different types of rejection. And I think we can all agree that it is awful. It's terrible to feel rejected in any of these situations, whether it's wanting to connect with someone who does not want to connect with you, or wanting somebody's approval or acceptance, or even just wanting a chance and feeling like someone isn't interested in you or has judged you by some inexplicable yardstick. It is just the worst experience. Like you, I have been rejected many times in my life, and I totally get it, how difficult this is. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this today on love, happiness, and success. So if you have been feeling bruised emotionally and are looking for some direction on how to overcome rejection and hopefully even grow from the experience, today's episode is for you. By the end of today's show, I hope to give you some insight as to what those are, so that when, not if, but when rejection happens in your life, you can engage with it with resilience and also turn it into a growth experience, because you deserve that. To break this down further, we will certainly, in the next chapters of this, be going into different types of rejection experiences and how to cope effectively with each. But I want to stay here for just a second to talk about the two pillars of handling this well: resilience and growth. The first one, resilience. This means that when you experience challenges or difficulties in life, you are able to essentially not fall apart and also feel your own strength. Perhaps part of resilience is growing stronger, not despite adversity, but because of it. Because that can absolutely happen. People experience a rejection that can feel catastrophic to them, and it turns into this shame-fueled downward spiral of self-destruction that can take you into very bad places. And so we have to stay out of that. Again, going back to this idea that rejection is a part of life, it happens to all of us. We must, as evolving humans, learn how to deal with this effectively, and your level of emotional resilience is what will make the difference between whether rejection feels like a nasty slap in the face and something we don't want to experience, obviously, but that you keep moving forward, or whether or not you experience a rejection and it absolutely crushes you. It feels like it flattens you and you don't get back up again. That's why resilience is so important. Another thing that rejection can provide, which is awesome, still not a fun experience, but so productive, is if you are using it as an opportunity that provides you with more visibility into your growth opportunities. It may surprise you to have me say this out loud, but people don't grow typically in significant ways when they're happy and good and life is easy. Seriously, we just cruise along, bop along, like, why should we change anything? Why should we challenge ourselves? What's the point? It's only when you go through some you-know-what, that is when we have our growth opportunities. And when it comes to rejection, you get some unique kinds of growth opportunities because the experience of rejection pushes you into contact with a few different things. First of all, you're going to get visibility into what stories you tend to tell yourself about whatever situations experience you are in. Stories about who is to blame for this situation, whether or not you might be the worst person in the world, who everybody hates, or potentially a more reality-based story that is probably more truthful. Your experience of rejection is going to show you that on a large screen. You'll also get some visibility into your relationship with yourself. When you are feeling vulnerable and hurt or have experienced a rejection, what happens inside of you with that relationship? Is there a voice in your head that is like your mortal enemy and worst critic telling you all these awful things about yourself? Or is that voice compassionate, accepting, self-supporting, telling you that it's going to be okay and that you're a worthwhile human, even if whoever was mean to you? What is happening inside of you will emerge during these experiences. You will also get more visibility into your general thinking patterns and whether they are helpful or unhelpful to you. For example, are you generalizing this one experience and going into a tailspin about how all of these other things globally are true about you because of this one event? Or are you able to stay connected to reality, do some reality testing, find other examples where you had a different outcome? This is really valuable because your ability to manage your mindset in every life situation is going to be to your benefit. But during these experiences of rejection, again, it's going to be very clear what your natural tendencies are, and it'll give you an opportunity to work on that. You'll also get insight into how you cope with pain, emotional pain. Are you drinking too much? Cutting yourself up, lashing out at people, isolating yourself, being generally self-destructive? Or are you practicing self-love, being extra kind to yourself in physical ways that you can feel, putting yourself in positive energy situations that kind of help you put yourself back together? That is something that you can observe when you are going through an emotional trauma like a rejection. And it's relatively easy to do. Just notice yourself. What did this do to me? How am I responding to this? And with curiosity and compassion, but also with interest. And then very lastly, and this is very challenging, growth work is hard, did this experience of rejection provide you with the gift of opportunities to reflect on how you show up and how your participation in whatever happened was partially what co-created the outcome that you had? And I do not want this to turn into a shame spiral. That's never good for anybody. But sometimes the way that people cope with rejection is to create narratives where the other person was the villain, they were victimized. And you know what? Sometimes that is true. People do get victimized. That is valid. And it is such a lost opportunity if you always put the fault on other people and don't, with humility and reflection, be like, how did I co-contribute to that outcome? Because there's so much value in doing that. For example, maybe you applied for a job that you were really excited about and didn't get, and the feedback was that they found somebody else who was more qualified. And so you can go into all kinds of different directions with your stories, but you might also connect with a really important core value of, I want to grow into the kind of person who is going to knock it out of the park and be the one that is chosen. And that kind of thinking is so incredibly valuable because it is actionable. If you want to grow into that person, what do you need to do in order to get there? For example, did that person actually have different qualifications, more work experience, a different skill set than the one that you currently possess? That's okay. You don't have to feel badly about that, but you can turn it into motivation that you can then do something with. I am going to create myself an 18-month plan to be that kind of person, and here are the things that I need to do in order to get there. That is incredibly empowering. And if you are falling into a victim mentality, you won't have the chance to do something really cool with it that actually helps your little growth engine move forward. I will say that the type of rejection we can experience in relationships, particularly personal relationships, can be a little different than professional rejection. And I do have many thoughts and opinions about this that we will discuss in upcoming chapters here. But it is also worth considering while we're on the subject of growth in general. This is multidimensional. Perhaps there were things going on that you did not have control over, and perhaps you were mistreated in a relationship. That happens. And so much for you to just reflect with humility on, how was I showing up in this relationship? Was I a good friend? Was I a good partner? Are there things that I can work on? And I cannot state clearly enough, this is not you shaming yourself or beating yourself up. This is an honest reflection and then using whatever information comes of this in service of your growth and development. This stance of, what can I learn from this experience? How can I use this to help myself hopefully not feel this way again? So these are some general pieces of advice and conceptual frameworks to help you cope with rejection. But I also want to talk about specifics. So in the next segment, we'll tackle how to overcome rejection that is attached to a friendship. And then after that, we'll be talking about feeling rejected from a romantic or intimate relationship, and then also a special type of rejection that comes from professional rejection attached to your job or career. And for each of these, in each segment, I'm going to be providing you with some free resources and also actionable strategies, loading you up with things that you can do to help yourself move effectively through the recovery process, the process of learning and growing after rejection. So thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying this so far, I hope you stay with me. Click on the next video. We will continue the conversation about how to deal with rejection in a friendship. And also, while we're here, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you get all the love, happiness, and success delivered to you every single week.